Hi everyone, welcome back to a new video, and apologies for the lack of uploads lately, just still quite ill, and there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. I know you guys want to see a lot of range tests and stuff like that. Don't worry, as soon as we can, we'll get to that with all the replicas that we've been showing up on the channel recently. Now, you might have known that previously, or say like last year, I think it was last year, I went down a rabbit hole with revolvers and thought I'd covered everything, and then Ares obviously released their revolvers. Now I'm trying to shy away from like the chrome finishes because I'd like to do some custom stuff with it. And there's two models that I want to look at pretty sharpish. It's this one, which is the Clarence Lie one. And the second one I want to look at, as soon as I can get one, is the Korth RWA Sky Marshal. So we managed to take a look at this at the Red Wolf booth at IWA. So I decided to pick one up. They came available in the UK. They're not the cheapest. They are, a couple of £100, maybe more, depending on where you get it. But this is the Clarence Lie edition. So we're going to open this up here. Now, the only thing that's going to be different if you pick one of these up with what you see today is it has this little protective cover on the back of the cylinder, which, as you can see where this is all bent and stuff, it was a bit of a pain to pull it off. So that will come protecting the cylinder. The other difference that you won't have in the box with this model are these. So I bought extra shells with moon clips. So usually you'll get it like this. It's just, in the interest of time, I took the shells out, put the moon clips on, and conveniently bought as many shells as I need to just completely fill this case here. So we're going to take this out. It comes wrapped in this white plastic. And here we have the Clarence Lie Ares revolver. So they say these are limited editions. Like I say, you got black finish and a looks like a Cerakote bronze, looks like burnt bronze on the might be a different color on there. And like I say, this comes on the cylinder, but you can't actually get it past this little nub here. So I had to just literally wrench this off to get it out of the way. But that just protects the cylinder from being scratched during transit and such like that. So what is it? It's a CO2 powered revolver. This is new to Ares. They're usually doing electric stuff. So they're breaking into the revolver market. They released a couple of models. You can get them in different barrel lengths in their normal model, which is the ones that are finished in like a chrome and they have like a wood style grip. They do a short, medium and a long model. And this is the Clarence Lie one. And then of course, like I said, we'll be looking at the Korth Sky Marshal because when I picked that up at IWA, it was really comfortable. This one has a good grip as well. It's like almost like a Hogue. It's kind of similar to the one that I have on my Dan Wesson. In fact, let me get some couple of revolvers out so I can show you what I'm still working with. So I managed to find my Dan Wesson. I can't actually find my my capper. It's around here somewhere because I was moving it the other day because I've managed to get a new hot rubber for it. But this is the closest to the Ares. What I will say is the reason I really like these Dan Wessons is the grips. The grips are really comfortable. It's one of the most comfiest grips I've had on a revolver. Now, we did work with Thor to get those 3D printed grips for the Chiappas. We do get a similar style grip on the Ares. Oh, it's very difficult to tell. This one's a little bit slimmer, but this one, I kind of I prefer the grooving on the Dan Wesson. But the Clarence Lie Ares revolver has this swell at the bottom here, which I think might tip it over the edge as being a bit more comfortable. Where this one doesn't have it, it kind of stops. It comes really short at the bottom. So with the Dan Wessons, however, we have to use these. I started doing these a while ago. These are the easy shells, and it's basically a way to not have to mess about with individual shells. They're very cost effective, and of course we can use them to reduce the power. Now, the Dan Wessons and such have been around for a while now. They're all made by Wingun. You just pop the thing off like that. It does have a tool built into the grip. But I'm one of those people with CO2. I'm a bit funny with CO2. It's just a personal thing for me. I prefer to put the cap on and then use another tool to tighten it up just to protect your hands from the CO2. So I do have a bunch of revolvers still. I sold a lot of them, mainly the Umarex ones, because they were not as reliable, it seemed, as the Dan Wesson and the Chiappas. But we'll be taking a look at this today. So, out the box, you can expect you've got a really comfortable grip. What I will say on these Ares is the cylinders are much smoother. You can actually like half cock it like this and spin the cylinder. Now many people tell you not to do that, but the hammer action itself is extremely smooth. And one thing I do want to give credit to on this Aries is the trigger is like so much lighter. It's a lot nicer to use. Now I don't know if I've got gas in this one. No, I don't. So this one, it's not quite as smooth to pull back. It's not a horrendous trigger. It's much better than the Chiappas. The Chiappas, I always end up saying it wrong, but the Chiappas have a really bad trigger, which was one of the things that was quite surprising when we had a look at the real Chiappas in Germany. The triggers on those were some of the best I'd ever found in any type of handgun. But the hammer is much smoother and the trigger is much lighter. It's right on the wall there. Very light. Even in the double action, it's very smooth. And like I say, you can half cock it and you can spin the cylinder, which you can't do on the Dan Wesson. One thing I have noted with this out the box is if you do this really slow, it's not going to do it now. If you pull the hammer really slow like that, listen to this. So if you pull the hammer really slow, it doesn't always set. Why you'd be pulling the hammer slow, I don't know. If you pull it with meaning, it's always in the right position. Just if you're trying to be sneaky in the woods or something and you pull this really slow, it's a slight degree off from where it should be set as normal. So like I said, black and silver finish. You can pull the cylinder release back and this will lock the hammer. You can't do it when the hammer is back, but it will lock the trigger and the hammer if you pull it to the rear. You obviously push it forward, it releases the cylinder, this will spin, and it's very smooth. So we do have a rail on the top on the Clarence Lie edition, and we also have a rail on the bottom, which is why I went for this one over the standard models. And of course, it's painted black rather than chrome plated, which I will probably be customizing this at some point and Cerakoting it a different color to make it unique. With the chrome plated ones, you can't do that unless you're able to remove the chrome plating before you do so. So just keep that in mind if you wanted to do some custom stuff. The iron sights are very nice. They are adjustable. You can see you've got windage and elevation adjustment. You've got fibre optics built into the front and the back. It's very easy to acquire. The cylinder, obviously, like I say, finished in bronze, does really stand out. And we'll show you the shells now. So these all came in boxes like this. Now, when you buy them, you can buy the moon clips separately, but if you are buying the shells, they come in a packet. So they come in like a Ziploc bag, and inside that Ziploc bag, you've got this plastic case, and you will get 6 shells, and then you spin it over, and you will also get a moon clip as well. So we can, if I can do this, pull that off like so. Get rid of that sticker. We can open up this little box. We have the 6 shells. We pull the foam out the way and it reveals the moon clip. One thing I will say about these moon clips is they're very thin, thinner than other brands that I've seen, which means that when you push these in, which is very easy to do, to be honest, compared to others. If we push all these 6 in now, you just have to be careful you don't stab yourself in the fingers when you're doing this. So some will go in a little bit looser and some will go in a little bit tighter. One thing that I did notice on the Red Wolf stand at IWA when we was messing with these, I can't remember which model it was. It might have been one of the standard models, and it had 6 shells like this with the moon clip, and these are actually quite together. The rest of these as well are pretty good. So this one's a bit more wobbly, you see, like that. This one a bit wobbly. This one a bit wobbly. This one, however, feels nice and tight. One of the revolvers I was looking at, I went to put it into the revolver, and because these could move, every time I went to put it into the revolver, one would move in or one would move out, and I stood there trying to get them in, and I said to the guy, "What am I doing wrong?" To which then he picked it up, and it was just they wouldn't line up properly. So we'll see if we have that problem today. So once you've got the shells loaded up like this, you can literally just drop them into the revolver like that. You've got 6 shots, whether you do them single action, which means drawing the hammer back first and then firing, which is obviously a lighter trigger, or double action. Both are smooth, and then when you're ready, you drop these out. So they come out like that. You'll discard one, you'll take your next one. That one actually went in nice and easy, so it might have just been a thing. It could be on the stand that when people are messing with these, they're bending the moon clips. That could very much be what it was. But I just noticed it and I thought, well, when I pick one up, I hope that isn't the case. So we've got our shells there. They do come in this nice hard case, so I can put those shells in the cylinder and I can carry 4 moon clips worth of shells. Now to take this off, we literally just pull it off here. It does come off a hell of a lot easier compared to the Dan Wesson, but we'll see how we do. So I'm going to get a CO2 capsule. Hopefully this doesn't leak. Pop that in there, and then you can use the tool, so it comes with one in the grip. You can just pull this out, put that in there, and you can actually use this slot in the grip here as a tool to turn it if you need to. Now me personally, what I'd be doing is I'd just be having an Allen key on my gear in my kit bag. So when I do that, I'll take an Allen key, I think it's a 6mm, it is, and I will just tighten it up. And we're just going to go, so that's tight as it can be. It is leaking, so as tight as it'll go, but it is leaking still. I always seem to get unlucky with these revolvers. So it's leaking out the back here. Hopefully that sorts itself out once we put some rounds through it. If it completely depletes, well, it's the thing with these CO2 revolvers, just they leak a hell of a lot, which is why I got rid of all my Umarex ones, because they were leaking. Had to buy extra seals and stuff to fix them, which was a pain in the backside. And then once they were done and they had all new seals in, I just moved them on. So we put the BBs in the front here, like so. They are metal shells, but they have got rubber tips. We take our shells, pop them into the revolver there. These are 2 5s. And we're going to quickly chrono this. We're going to do 3 shots at single action, and then we're going to do 3 shots at double action. So here's the chrono. We are set to 0.25s. Single action. We're at 0.7 joules. 0.831. 0.838, so plenty under the limit, which is nice. They're not coming out at 2 joules, which just makes all these revolvers completely unusable unless you have to buy special shells. It's nice that you don't have to bother with any of that. It's just good to go out the box. So the next few shots we're going to be doing on double action, so I'll be calling them out to you. 0.592, 0.865, 0.538. So some of them are coming a little bit lower for some reason. We'll test this again. Most people that use revolvers will always, unless they're in a bind and they need to get some shots out pretty quick, most people that I've seen use revolvers will always cock the hammer first to get that nice trigger. Now it could be a case of the way I was putting them in the shells if they're not fully seated. Usually a lot of these revolvers, when you push them in, you'll get like a click when they go in, but there is no click with these. So I'm going to do 6 shots on double action, and I'll call out the results to you. So let's reset the chrono. Here we go. 0.591, 0.684, 0.51, 0.618, 0.65, and 0.719. So, shot memo, here we go. So 225, 242, 209, 230, 236 and 249. So we're going to leave that there. We're going to do the same again. Now you always get, eventually you get to a point where you get diminishing returns from the CO2 capsule and you'll have to change it out. We usually Usually on revolvers you're good for like 100 or so shots. So I'm going to do all of these. I'm going to do them single action to see if we get any more consistent results. So like that. I'm going to charge one in. And here we go. We've got 1 joule on the first one. 0.984. 0.607. 0.875. 0.86. 0.87. So we are still getting some irregularities. There was one that came out low, but it seems that we're getting a slightly bit more power out of it when we're doing it single action instead of double action. Right, let's load all these up and we'll get some rounds through it. This thing is brand new. It does seem like it's stopped leaking, but it's something I'll have to keep an eye on. So, I mean, I don't know, the revolver content that I do on the channel never seems to perform very well compared to everything else. That's kind of expected. But I think revolvers are cool because they add that, you know, extra layer of realism compared to everything else that we shoot. It's also a layer of difficulty because you've got far less ammunition compared to, you know, a Glock or a high capper pistol. Usually got 25 to 30 rounds in a magazine, where you've got 6. It's also going to take you longer to reload if you can't quite line up the shells when you're putting them back into the revolver. One thing I will say is nice about revolvers is they're very loud, so I'm going to shoot these off as quick as possible here, and we'll see how we do. Oh, see, this is what I mean by the shells. There we go. So that's 2 rounds of double action. Let's do single action now. Still nice and quick. And I'm just trying to get an idea of how this thing feels to shoot. Right, see, we've got a first problem there. These shells won't go in. So what's going on here? Let's make sure they all spin freely in the moon clip, which they do. And we've got a problem, so these shells do not want to go in for some reason. Why is that? So we've got a problem here, the shells just don't want to go into the revolver. Just test the other ones. Straight in, no issues. Straight in, no issues. And straight in, no issues. So why is this one binding up? I don't see any differences at all. I'm wondering if one of the shells is off spec and it's just getting caught. That one does look a little bit charred up. So it looks like this side wants to go in. It looks like this shell in particular, which is the one I mentioned, doesn't want to go in. So can we get that back out? There it goes. So now they'll go back in. So I have a dodgy shell. The rest of them, however, is not lining up. So we can line up that one. That should give us 6 shots. 5 shots even. So we might have to get the calipers out on that one. I did drop it. I dropped it down into the nether. So seems like it's had a funny bounce. I can see it down here, bear with me, as it's hit the floor. So I'm not quite sure what's different with this shell compared to the others. Doesn't really feel any different. It's got a bit of a, maybe the head is a little bit wider. This one, the head on this one looks just a fraction a little bit bigger. We can, of course, oh, it did go in that time. So it'll go in 3 of the ports, but it won't go in the other 3. So you'll see I drop this in here, it's fine. Drop this in here, for some reason it gets stuck. So there must be a difference in sizing in the cylinders. Ever so weird. So what I probably have to do is just shove that in the lathe and just trim that ever so slightly. That the old great Aries QC is coming back to haunt us. I wonder if I can load that one shell. So it doesn't go in that way. If we rotate it, it will go in. So we need to mark that. Do I have a marker where I can note that down? That needs, you know what, I might just pull it off. Let's pull it off again. So that one we know we've got an issue with. Let's get rid of the round that's in there, shall we, to make it safe. Let's load this in properly so it loads it. There we go. Shoots fine. Just gets stuck. So that old Aries QC coming back to haunt us. But yeah, revolvers, I don't know, there's just something, even if you're not planning on skirmishing it, if you just want something cool that's a little bit more fun to shoot at targets in the garden, or maybe you're at your airsoft site and you just want to fool around with something. Like I say, the plus side to this, it's not coming out at like 2 joules, which a lot of the revolvers do. Dan Wessons, the Chiappa Rhinos, and especially the Umarex ones. So the last Umarex one, which was the competitor that I sold, was the one that came back leaking. So I had to buy fresh seals for it and get it all sorted. And then once we chronoed it, some of the shots were coming out close to 3 joules. So let's see if we rotate these. So I think it is just that one shell. And some of the cylinders, some of the entrances of the cylinder must be like a fraction tighter. But it's super crisp to fire on double action. I think if you're in a CQB environment, I'll show you this in just a moment, but I'll just get through some rounds and then I'm going to re-chrono these ones, see what power we're at. So we'll do 3 shots single action, 3 shots double action. So single action first, we're still at 0.9 joules, 0.874, 0.9. Let's do double action. 0.943, 0.995, and then one came out at 0.532, which is ever so strange. But yeah, like I say, if you're in a CQB environment where everything, you know, speed is key. Now this is empty, of course, like I've just shown you. Empty, the barrel is empty. If you're in a CQB environment, you're going to be using double action to pull off your shots very quick. One thing I will say, I don't know if it's got something to do with Clarence Lie. I don't know whether it's just how these Aries are, but the action is super smooth, smoother than the others that I've tried. And a few people who are collectors like myself, especially Flo, she said, you need to get one of these Aries revolvers. They're actually pretty damn good. And now I've got one. So, like I say, double action, you'll be using that indoors. Maybe outdoors, you're taking your time with your shots and you're getting the revolver ready, and then you want a nice light trigger pull. It's very comfy. It's got a nice weight to it. We can obviously weigh that now. Let's put these in here. I'll put that shell to one side. I'll measure it and fix it. I'm sure it'll be just a QC issue. sure many people will have something to say about Aries and QC in the comments down below. Now we do have a few other bits in the box with this. Let me just deflate this bag so I can get it in here. We've got a bag here where we've got a spare seal, which is great for CO2. We've got some O-rings, and we do have some extra springs. Now these kind of look like hammer springs. Maybe we've got different hammer springs to give us different powers. Now that would be nice. So maybe we can just take this cap off. We can change the hammer spring. I'll have to look into that and see if that's something we need to test and see what powers we get. But nice that it comes in like a hard case. That's always appreciated. And we're going to weigh it now. We're going to weigh it against the Dan Wesson because it's the closest thing I've got to the counterpart. I'm going to say that the Clarence Lie Aries one is heavier, but we'll try it now. So the Dan Wesson, just over 1 kilo. We'll weigh, obviously the easy shells don't weigh anything, but we'll take it out anyway. Let the chrono do its thing. So yeah, hardly anything. Just over 1 kilo. Now we've got the Clarence Lie, sorry if you can't see that. We are at 1.384 kilos. The bloody scales are acting up. I think the battery's about to go. But it's about 300 grams heavier. Yeah, literally 300 grams heavier. If we take the shells out. Yeah, it's not bad at all. It's about 80 grams in that. There's about 14 grams in one of these. So weight-wise, it is heavier. It does have the added rail on the front here. Like I say, there are different models you can do, but the one thing that I wanted to, the reason why I bought this model, one, it was available. The trade price on it, because obviously I'm in the trade, was cheaper than what you guys will pay, but it was still expensive. But it gives me the ability to put my light on there, and I can use the same holster. Let's give that a go, actually. See if it will work. It might not work, but stranger things have happened. So we can put an X300 in here. We'd have to tighten that up, of course. Or we'd have to clearance it because it is a little bit too long on that rail. We could of course move the light forward. Still won't fit, so we'd have to clearance it. Maybe I'd have to buy another holster and just chop a section out. But yeah, I can put a light on here. I can also put a red dot on there, Gucci it up a little bit. I would need to get a light that's a little bit more secure, so maybe I'll do something else, get it seated back as far as possible. But then I can actuate it, especially if I'm indoors. I just prefer now to have light bearing holsters over having a holster for every different type of gun. Maybe it would fit in some Dan Wesson ones. We can try that actually. Curious, because we don't have the optics rail on the top. So that does go on there. It is still a bit loose, but it does fit in there. Just, these aren't meant for revolvers. I'm just goofing around. So we'll have to come up with something for that. And I would like to get something for the Sky Marshal when it's available, because basically the Sky Marshal is a really tiny version of this, and it's really comfy and nice. The only weird thing, I asked the guy on the stand actually, because it's got a little Picatinny rail here. I was like, what's that for? And he was like, I don't know, couldn't tell you. So if you know, put it down in the comments below. But it's actually finished quite nicely. I think the barrels are cut in a way where the hop is like an O-ring, which if that is the case, it would be super easy to find a replacement. And again, you've just got the adjustment on the top here with a grub screw. So yeah, let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. Do you like it? Like I say, there are standard models you can get, but this is the one that I went for because I wanted the rubber grips. And I also wanted the ability to strip all this paint off and give it a nice colour. Again, in the comments down below, let me know what colour you think I should make this. We could make it something really funky, couldn't we? Have it as a bit of a meme pistol in CQB. Thank you very much for watching. again, we'll be getting to the range videos as soon as I get a chance to either get out to 6mm when the weather's better, and of course I'm still not very well, or when we've got the new place set up, and you'll see more of that coming soon. So thank you very much for tuning in. As always, comment down below what you think and your suggestions. You can check out the Jaeger Precision Discord, which is in the link, the link is down in the description below. And as always, thank you very much for tuning in. And from me and Bench, we'll be seeing you in the next one.